Alright, welcome back to the stream, guys. It's me and Tom here. We're going over UFC Vegas 41 today. First, let's say thank you to our sponsor, Tampa Bless, Home Team Do Good, TampaBless.com for more information on that. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It takes a lot of time, so just throw that thumbs up. Alright, we'll get right into it. This is going to be a little tough one just because we know a few things since we're shooting a little later than normal. We got Paulo Costa. He's ranked number 2. He's 30 years old. He's 13-1. He's a plus 125 dog, and he's coming off a loss to Adesanya. He's going up against Marvin Vettori, ranked 5, 28 years old. He's 17-5-1. He's a minus 145 favorite at the moment. He's also coming off a loss to Adesanya. Now, Tom, taking the weight cut thing out and everything like that, we don't want to spend crazy amounts of time. We'll go over it, but what do you see happening right now?
All right, I'll cover just the matchup first, and then I'll mention that towards the pick. Paulo Costa, the Brazilian, 30 years old on one side, 6'1" in height. Marvin Vettori, the Italian, on the other, 28 years old, 6 even in height, but Vettori holds a 2-inch reach advantage. Paulo Costa, 13-1, 13-1-0. We know he had his first loss in his career against Stylebender. UFC, 5-1. He's a black belt in BJJ. He's coming off a TKO by punches and elbows loss to Israel in September 2020. So that's over a year he's been off. All right. Only had one decision in his career, Paulo. Everything's been either he got finished by Stylebender in the one time, and the 13 other times, or 12 out of the 13 other fights, he finished the opponent. The only one he didn't was the decision victory over Yoel Romero. That went to a decision. But he tends to be a finisher, whether, I guess you could say he's being finished or he's doing the finishing. Other side, Marvin Vettori, 17-5-1, UFC 7-3-1. Now, 2 out of those 3 losses were to Israel, one being a split decision loss. So 2 out of his 3 losses are to the guy with no losses in that weight group.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's coming off unanimous decision loss to Israel in June 2021. Another thing worth noting is Marvin has never been finished. So it's a nice matchup. Have one guy that almost never goes to decision versus a guy that has never been finished. So we'll see what happens. Marvin Vettori is a brown belt in BJJ. Now let me get on to now with the pick. I have to mention the weight cut. He announces yesterday basically begging for a catch weight was Paulo Costa, who was weighing in at 211, going to be supposedly making 185 the next day at some point. He just called it. He didn't even go for it. He was just like, I'm not going to make it. Can you please give me a catch weight? Very unprofessional. We discussed this with Aspen Ladd. My opinion still stands, and I won't harp on it for very long. I do agree with Randy Brown in terms of the 50%, but I actually am further than that. I think fighters should be encouraged to actually refuse the fight. No 50%. You get the show pay from Paulo, plus your show pay. Paulo gets nothing, and Paulo or anybody else that misses weight has to pay a fine, which is then given to the opponent that made weight. I think if they did that, just the peer pressure and then the fans getting irritated, the fact that you also got no money would then correct it. I don't think, as long as they followed through with it a couple times, I think a few people would test to see if it would actually be followed through with. But if it was, they would then correct it. It'd be a very heavy hand. All right, so my pick, and I kind of picked this before I found out this info, and I'm still going to roll with it. First off, what has Costa done in the last year? He's been off almost 13 months.
Right.
Has he utilized that to become a better version of himself as a fighter? Or has he...
Eating donuts, it seems like.
Yeah, or has he, kind of squandered that time in terms of training and got involved in other things that money can bring.
He got his hair done.
And got sidetracked. Yeah, he did. But he could have got sidetracked. Or he could have really used it, and we just don't really know how good he's gotten. So I think that's a bit of an X factor right there, since he hasn't fought in a good amount of time, in over a year. But nevertheless, I think that's an important question. And then he didn't really tax himself at all it doesn't seem like he didn't really spend much time on a weight cut. It's kind of like he came in and he's just like, hey, this is the vibe I get. You didn't really try, so you didn't feel the effects of a weight cut, which is good for you. Marvin, I'm sure, was very close to the weight already. He wasn't going to try to cut a drastic amount at the end. He, or not like other fighters, was going to be stuck there going, hey, you know what? I just put a lot of effort into this. You know what I mean? Either way, I'm going with Marvin by sub or GMP round 3.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much. I don't know if I see him finishing Costa, but I really see Marvin winning. I see Marvin maybe dropping the first round, as you've already touched on. I won't go back into how Costa fights. He really has no decisions. And Marvin has a cast iron chin. He's got great cardio. He has a smothering style. Paulo has the incredible round 1, as we know. But when we saw him go deep against Romero, we also saw he faded, and he faded pretty hard. He was not the same guy round 1 as he was the rest of that fight. And I think Marvin has just as good a chin as Yoel does. I think we have to see what happens, though, as you touched on, at the weigh-ins. We already know he wants to catch weight. Does he come in 20 pounds heavier? Does he come in... I mean, we don't know what's going to happen here. There's a lot of scenarios. I'm definitely taking Vettori, but I'm not going to sprinkle anything until I see what happens at the weigh-ins. Is Vettori come in at 190, just about the right weight, because he can't put anything else on? What's going to happen? There's a lot of what-ifs. We could talk about that all day. We don't have to. I'm not going to waste any more time on it. I got Vettori winning this fight, though. Just smothering him after round 1. Maybe even gets dropped in round 1.
I just want to mention real quick, I almost feel like it's unprecedented. I cannot think of a moment when a fighter on a Thursday before the weigh-in at the end of the week just decided to request a catch weight.
It wasn't even Thursday. It was a Wednesday, right? Wasn't it a Wednesday?
Oh, yeah, it was Wednesday. Excuse me.
Catch weight on Wednesday, not even Thursday.
Yes, you're right, on Wednesday.
It wasn't even...
and that makes it even worse.
No, it does make it worse, because this fight was already kind of in the books. It wasn't like they called them yesterday and said, can you make the fight? It's crazy.
Yeah, I've never heard anything like this before. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think he gets punished for it. But the card market on these guys is super soft on both these guys right now. Adesanya is just so dominant in the middleweight division. He basically takes all the shine from probably all the middleweights besides maybe Whitaker. And I really like Vettori. I like his youth. I like that his skills are always improving when he goes out there. I like that nobody just goes out and finishes Vettori. That guy is hungry. Costa, he only has the one loss. It was an embarrassing loss. He claims that he was drunk on vino and hung over the day before and everything like that. Whatever he wants to do. He's got weight issues now.
More unprofessionalism.
I feel like Costa made some money and it went to his head. So I got to buy a Vettori, though. I think his youth is just, and his skill set's just too good. I don't know if he'll be champ as long as Adesanya's up there, even though he gave him a great first match. But either way, I like him. I got to buy Costa. I got to see more out of Costa. We got to see how he looks now, see how he looks in the next future couple fights. And I'm just going to say, guys, there's not a ton of studs on this card. This is definitely a lighter card also, so I'm not going to go over all the cards on this our picks today. There's just not enough heat on here. There's a couple more I'll touch on, but not too many. All right, let's move it right on. We got a great lightweight matchup right now. We got Grant Dawson, 27 years old. He's 17-1, and he's a minus 380 favorite. He's going up against Ricky Glenn, who's 32. He's 22-6-1, plus 290 dog. Grant Dawson's on an 8-fight winning streak. I'm sure you touched on that. And Glenn has won 2 out of his last 4 with a win over Joaquim Silva. Tom, does Glenn have what it takes to beat this up-and-comer here?
Well, you got Grant Dawson, the American, on one side. As you mentioned, 27 years old. He's 5'8" in height. American Rick Glenn on the other side, 6 feet in height. Dawson does hold the 1.5 reach advantage, though, although he is shorter in height. Dawson, 17-1-0 overall, 5-0 in the UFC. brown belt in BJJ, and he's coming off a KO win over Leonardo Santos in March 2020. Rick Glenn, 22-6-1. UFC, he's 4-3. He's coming off a KO win over Joaquin Silva in June 2021. And he's a brown belt in BJJ. Now, Joaquin Silva, I believe, just beat Charles Jourdain. Is that the same? Am I remembering that properly?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Can you give that double check? Yeah, I can give that a check.
Round 2, possibly a decision win
by Grant. Yeah. How I look at it is I'm looking this up right now for us. Ricky Glenn he hasn't had enough time in the cage lately. He fought 2021 or whatever this year, but it was a quick trip, as you mentioned. It was a knockout, and he didn't fight before that since 2018. I don't think a lot has really changed in his skill set. We don't know for sure, but he's been beat by way lesser competition. He doesn't have the great wrestling skills needed to stay on his feet the whole time. I'm not sold on him. I'm really thinking Dawson just takes him down over and over again and gets some ground and pound. Yeah, Silva, his last fight was Ricky Glenn, and he lost to Glenn and Nazareth Hapkarask. So he has not, and he lost to Vince Pichel. He's not the guy you're thinking of. Just an FYI.
Okay, yeah. Right.
But yeah, I'm taking Dawson in this one. Gets it done. Probably gets it done round 2. And we don't need to spend any time on their cards. I just don't think the takedown defense is going to be there for Ricky Glenn. This is a fan favorite fight right here. I'm going to call it out right now. We got a bantamweight matchup. We got Jessica Rose Clark. She's 33 years old. She's 10-6 with 1 no contest. She's a -150 favorite, and she's coming off a win against Sarah Alpar. But before that, she lost 2 in a row. And she's going up against Jocelyn Edwards, who's 26 years old. She's 10-3 plus 130, and she's coming off a loss to Carol Rosa. This is a pretty close fight on paper. You got any sneaky leads on this one?
All right, Jessica Rose Clark, the Australian on one side, 33, 5'4" in height. The Panamanian Jocelyn Edwards, 26 on the other side, 5'7" in height. She also holds a 5.5-inch reach advantage. Jessica Rose Clark, 10-6 with 1 no contest. UFC 3-2. Jocelyn Edwards, 10-3. UFC 1-1. Jessica Rose Clark's coming off a TKO punch and knee win over Sarah Alpar. And that was in September 2020, so that's been over a year as well. Purple belt in BJJ, never been finished. Popular, but in my opinion, slightly overrated at the moment, but is improving. Jocelyn Edwards coming off a unanimous decision loss to Carol Rosa in February 2021. What has Jessie done with the year? Has it been? I know Australia's been a mess.
Absolutely.
As far as COVID and just, straight up just the way the government is handling things, just been terrible. What has Jessie done with that year? Has she improved? Has she taken advantage of that year, similar to Costa? What has gone on? Costa, we know, didn't make weight. The same as we had the same question because it was like a year, creeping on 2 years with Aspen Ladd. She obviously didn't handle her nutrition as well either. Here, what has Jessie done? That's a little bit of an X factor. Nevertheless, I'm going to pick Jessie by decision.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that one. I think this fight's really close. I don't see either girl with like a super edge all over the place. I like Jessica to go out there, though, and get it done. I think she's going to try to strike with Edwards. She likes to strike. I think Edwards is probably a better striker than her, though. And hopefully she realizes that because that's where Edwards' weakness is, getting taken down. I think Jessica Clark can take her down over and over again, and I think she can beat her that way. If she tries to stand on her feet, though, I don't think it looks too pretty for her. Edwards looks pretty sharp on her feet, to be honest. You go back and watch her, she's pretty sharp. I think she has the edge on her feet, but I think Clark can beat her. She just has to stick with that game plan that you got to come in. You got to have the right coach in your corner, as we like to say. I think Glory actually has a bunch of guys on this card. So we'll see. Does Kraus give her some advice there? Now, as far as the card market goes, this one, Jessica Rose Clark does have a strong following. She's loved by a lot of people. I don't know if I ever see her gaining the traction, though, for me to give her a buy. She's great PC for a lot of guys. I just don't think she's going to be at that level where anyone's going to remember her once she's retired and gain some value. So, we're in agreement on decision for Clark. This is a pretty nice fight right here. Featherweight bout.
This could be fight of the night.
This could be fight of the night. Alex Casares, he's 33 years old. He's 18-12, won no contest. He's plus 225. Underdog. He's on a 4-fight win streak, though. He's looked very good his last few fights out. He's going up against Sungwoo Choi, who's 10-3, 28 years old, and he's a minus 280 favorite. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, and he's beating some impressive guys, though. Julian Erosa and Yusuf Zalal included in those three. Tom, what do you see happening here?
All right, Alex Casares, the American, 33 on one side, 5'8" in height. The South Korean Choi Sung-woo, 28, 6 feet tall, 1-inch reach advantage on the other side. Alex, 18-12 with 1 no contest. UFC, he's 13-10-0 with 1 no contest. And he actually won that no contest but popped for marijuana. He's coming off a unanimous decision win over Kevin Kroom in February 2021, and that marked 4 wins in a row. On the other side, Choi Sung-woo, 10-3-0, UFC 3-2. He's decorated Muay Thai background, Choi. And he's coming off a TKO punches win over Julian Erosa in June 2021. Now, this is the guy I was thinking of when I said Joaquim Silva. It's Julian Erosa. I had the J right, but it was the wrong first name. One was Joaquim, and this guy's Julian Erosa. This is the guy who just beat Charles Jourdain, and he took him out.
Right.
So this Choi guy is no joke. And I feel like Alex is on the rise, though, and this is going to be a heck of a test here because, like I just mentioned, Choi is serious. But you know what? I'm going to go against the odds makers, and I'm going to pick Alex by decision here, or possibly even maybe like a rear naked choke 3rd round.
Okay. Yeah, as good as Alex has looked to me, his normal path to victory, as you mentioned, like a rear naked choke, he has that height advantage on a lot of guys. He has a reach advantage on a lot of guys. He doesn't have that. Wu is tall and long, and as I just mentioned, the guys he beat, he's held up. His ground defense and everything's held up against these wrestlers and pretty good guys in the past. Yusuf Zalal he's a pretty good wrestler out there. He's pretty good. And he's just been holding up. His defense has been holding up. So I don't think Casares is going to have that clear-cut way to victory that he normally has. I see him going out. I see a brawl for about 2 rounds, and then I think he's just too much for Casares. I think Sung gets the KO in round number 3. That's my
nice.
call. I just don't know if I see the, because Casares has been looking so good, but he has those advantages over so many guys, and he's not going to have it in this one. All right, we'll make it quick. We got one more for you. We got a middleweight bout. Jung Young Park, 30 years old, 13-4, minus 110. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, last beating Nchukwu, and he beat Mark Baralt, who's a tough out himself. He's going up against RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez, who's 29, 10-3. He's also minus 110, and he's on a 3-fight win streak himself. Tom, these guys have both had some good victories as of late. What do you see happening in this one?
This is a tough call also. You got Park Jun-young, the South Korean, on one side, 30 years old, 5'8" in height. The Brazilian Gregory Rodriguez on the other side, 29 years old, 6'2" in height, and Gregory also holds a 2-inch reach advantage. Park is 13-4-0 overall, 3-1 in the UFC. He's coming off that majority decision win over Tafon Nchukwu in May 2021. Now, if you recall on that fight, and I remember watching that, Nchukwu lost a point for repeated groin strikes on Park. So I don't know if he wasn't so silly about that. He might have been able to, he could have cost himself that fight right there. On the other side, but at the same time, repeated groin strikes takes a lot out of you. So
absolutely,
it is unfair, and you deserve to lose a point. Gregory Rodriguez on the other side, 10-3. UFC, he's 1-0, and I remember watching him against Dusko. I mean, I actually picked Dusko to win that one. He's coming off the decision win over Dusko in June. Dusko Todorovic in June 2021, and I had picked Dusko. Dusko actually looked pretty terrible that fight, and maybe that's to the credit of Gregory. Gregory definitely won decisively. Dusko just had a heck of a chin. I mean, he was getting pounded. My pick, if Park can avoid being knocked out.
That's a big ask.
I know, but I got him winning the decision, so I'm gonna go with Park by decision.
Okay, Park by decision. Yeah, so this is not easy for me either. I like RoboCop though. I think Rodriguez, his size and strength, he's massive at this weight class. He's a big boy. I think he's hard to take down. And he's got a great ground game if you do get him down. That's the big thing. The guy's got skills down there. As long as we don't see him gas himself out, that would be my thing. The guy carries around a lot of muscle. I think he gets a KO, potentially round 2. And I just want to mention, neither guy has a finish in the UFC as of yet. So they're both...
Gregory's surprising thing is, I was surprised at Gregory's age. Honestly, I'd forgotten that he was under 30.
Right. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's got that Brazilian passport to get in the United States that just says he's under 30. Because he looks like he's 37 or something like that. He looks. Yeah, he definitely looks older. He looks kind of like Barack Obama in a lot of his pictures, but jacked. But yeah, I like him to get the knockout, his first UFC knockout, and we'll see how it happens. Guys, we won't hold you up any longer today. We'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you all.
Have a great day. See you soon.